Good morning my dear students. So welcome to your biology online tutorial, and we will be studying today a new chapter which is known as Digestive System. So we are in class 9 and following Concise Biology class 9 ICSC. Open your book, page number 104, chapter 11, Digestive System. So what do we understand by digestive system? First, before starting the chapter, let us understand that what do we understand by the word digestion. What is that? For example, to be simplifying it in a easier way, we take in food or we consume food. Okay, you students or all of us in our home, we consume food in a daily process, right? So whenever we are taking that particular food and intaking it, the process of digestion from the very first moment when we are intaking the food, it starts. Okay, so the first thing that comes up in digestion is the broken down of the food particles, right? Because if the food particles are not broken down into simpler forms, then how it is possible to for our body to digest the food? Now what is digestion? Digestion means to convert the particular food into the substance which our body can intake, or to be very simplifying it, from which our body can get energy. Okay, so this is the reason why we are intaking food, and how these process are getting, or how the process from raw food to the food that our body accept, or to the food from which our body takes in the energy happens. That is all about the term or about the chapter digestion, and the particular organs that are taking place or that are taking all together to form or to happen this particular process digestion is known as digestive system. So digestive system is the collaboration or all together a system which is working on the process of digestion, right? So the first thing is need for a digestive system. The food that we eat cannot be utilized as such in the body. It must be changed into soluble absorbable form to get absorbed by the blood for distributing in the body, right? Certain food containing sucrose are already soluble in water, but they require a breaking down of the molecule into simpler units so that they can pass through cell membranes of the wall of the gut, and from there absorption take place, right? So what is digestion? Digestion is the breakdown of naturally occurring foodstuff into diffusible form, that I have already told, into the form which our body can accept. Or digestion is any change which makes the food soluble and of such chemical nature that it can be absorbed readily through the living membrane. Now this is known as digestion. Now one more thing that we will study about when studying digestion is the enzymes. What are enzymes? See, enzymes plays a key role in the digestion of food. There are hundreds of enzymes in addition to those involved in digestion, but in general characteristics, all of the enzymes are same. And what is enzymes? Enzymes are protein substances which speeds up a reaction, right? So see, what are the characteristics of an enzyme? Please mark this. It is a protein and is therefore destroyed by heating. It only acts on one kind of substance, that is, it is known as specific. For example, an enzyme which is working on digestion will not work on assimilation or on absorption or on respiration, right? It always forms the same end product from the substrate. It only affects the rate of chemical reaction and always speed up the reaction. Like a catalyst, it can be used again and again. It acts best only at a particular pH, that is, at a particular degree of acidity or alkalinity. It acts best within the narrow temperature range, that is usually between 35 to 40 degree of centigrade, which is also known as optimum temperature. That is the temperature in which the function of the body or the function of a particular reaction is stable. Okay, now if we heat up, then it may get destroyed, or if we if the temperature is below 35 degrees centigrade, it is like 20-25 degrees centigrade, so the chemical reaction will not occur properly, right? Now see, the digestive system. What is the digestive system? The digestive system consists of alimentary canal and the digestive glands. So to narrow up digestive system, there are two types, or It consists of two types. The first one is the alimentary canal and the second one is the digestive glands. Okay. The alimentary canal is a muscular tube which starts with the mouth and ends at the anus. It is about 9 meters long and is highly coiled in a certain region, especially in the small intestine. Its various region is shown in figure 11.1, which is very important, are different both in structure and function. In addition to the digestive glands located in the lining of the various region of the digestive tube, two large digestive glands, the liver and the pancreas, are also associated with it, and the three different salivary glands are associated in the oral cavity. Now the various organs of digestive system that are as described below. The very first one is the mouth, because see, if we chalk out a plan, then you will see the first thing, the food that is getting inserted in our mouth, right? So the mouth of the oral cavity is the space where the food is chewed and mixed with saliva. Its front limits are formed by the upper and the lower lips. The lips helps in, what are the function of lips? The lips helps in closing the mouth, sucking and lipping liquids, speaking, and also in perceiving certain sensations, especially those of touch and heat. These are the particular function of mouth, right? Now, what is tongue? What is the function of tongue, or what is tongue? A muscular tongue help in manipulating the food while chewing and mixing it with saliva. That is, we make a bolus formation inside our mouth with the help of tongue. Number 2, tasting. Definitely it gives a taste. And number 3 is cleaning the food particles from the teeth after eating. And the very last point is speaking, because without tongue it is not possible to speak, because as when we are speaking, as our voice box is vibrating, so is our tongue, which is passing the air in a certain way which cause this vibration or which cause this sound. Clear? Now the teeth. What do we understand by the teeth? See, the teeth have a very special role. They cut and break the food into simpler bits. So the very first point that I was talking about is the grinding of the food substances, and the grinding of these food substances take place via the teeth. The small size bits have a relatively larger surface area for the enzymes to act on for a better digestion. The teeth help in speaking. How? Find out yourself. Teeth also add to the facial beauty. Many of you have you have already undergone that the teeth have fallen in your in the process of your growing, right? That we call the milk teeth or the milk tooth that falls off. Now when the teeth is not there, the tooth is not there, what happens when we speak? Air comes out from our mouth, and thus we call it as a তোতলা in Bengali. পরিষ্কার ভাবে আমাদের কথা তখন বেরোয় না, কথাটা আটকে আটকে যায়, right? Now what are the types of teeth? An adult human normally has 32 teeth. These teeth are in different shapes and perform different functions as follows. Each type of teeth or each type of tooth have the particular function. Okay, this forms the total set of 32 teeth. Incisors are the four front teeth in the center of each jaw. Their cutting edges are broad and sharp like a chisel. They are used for biting and cutting. Second one is canines. Canines are the ones on either side of the incisors in each jaw. These are conical and sharply pointed for holding and tearing the food. Premolar are two on each side of the teeth jaw next to the canines. Each premolar has two heel-like projection or cusps on its surface and hence known as bicuspid. Premolar help in grinding and crushing food. And the last one is the molar. Molar are the last three teeth on each side of the jaw. They have a larger surface than the premolar. They are the principal grinder and crusher. So it is at the back end, okay, at the back end of both the sides in lower as well as on the upper one. Okay, they are primarily with the function of grinding and crushing. The last molar of each side in each jaw is called the wisdom tooth. Please mark it. The wisdom teeth are also called because they appear last at an age of about 17 to 20 years when the human body is reaching maturity. Thus, human mammalian teeth are different in shape and are called heterodont as opposed to homodont. Teeth of other animals such as lizard and frogs. They have similar kind of teeth, but we have different type of teeth. Mammalian teeth appear in two sets during life. In human, the first set or milk teeth consists of 20 teeth, all but not the premolars, and start growing through the gums when the child is about 7 to 8 months old and are completed when he is about 2 years old. This temporary or the deciduous teeth falls out as the result of the root being dissolved away in the jaw and is completely replaced by the permanent teeth at an age of about 12 years. Okay. Now see, the number of permanent teeth in mammal is usually indicated in the formula where the number of incisors is I, canine is C, premolar is PM and molar is M, is given strictly in the same order for 1/2 each jaw. The human dental formula is follow. Human child up to about 2 years is 2102, okay, on the lower and 2102 on the upper. So it forms a total of 20 milk teeth. Human adolescence, that is up to the age of 17 to 20, this is now you all are, okay. It forms 2122, and in human adult it is 2123. Clear? Now we will be going to the structure of a tooth. See, the general structure of all type of teeth is the same. Each tooth consists of a crown or the upper exposed above the gum and the root or the part embedded in a cup-like socket of each jawbone. The root consists of a single process or fang as in incisor or canines, or of two types or fangs as in premolar and lower molar, and three in upper molar. The neck is a slight constriction between the root and the crown in vertical section. A tooth is shown in the following parts. Okay, so here figure 14.4 A and B, both the diagrams or both the drawings are very important. A will be coming for labeling and B can also come for labeling as well as for drawing. Okay, see, enamel or the ivory is the material which covers the crown. It is the hardest substance in the body, right? Second is dentine, forms the bulk of the tooth. It is harder than bone but not as hard as the enamel. It has minute canals through which runs the strand of cytoplasm or the cell in the pulp cavity. Then cement. Cement is another bone-like structure covering and fixing the root in position. And the another part, the last part is the pulp. Pulp is a soft connective tissue containing in the central space or pulp cavity of the tooth. It consists of blood capillaries, lymph vessels and nerve fibers which are continuous below those of the body, which through the opening of the pulp cavity at the base of the root. This is the reason why we have tooth pain, okay, because you will see that sometimes or in your childhood when any one of the tooth have been fallen, you have found excessive pain or blood from your tooth. Why? This is only because of these particular nerve cells or the blood capillaries that are running through the teeth. Okay. Now we will be coming to the salivary glands. It is very important because salivary glands plays a very important role in our digestion. Okay. The saliva is secreted by three pairs of salivary glands. The first one, parotid glands, located just in front of and beneath each ear here, okay. Submandibular gland, lying close to the inner side of the lower jaw in each side, here and here, okay. And the another one or the last one is sublingual gland, below the tongue, just below our tongue, okay. Ducts from each gland transport the secreted saliva into the mouth. Small quantities of saliva keep secreting all the time. While eating, the salivary flow is considerably increased. Sometimes even the sight of smell or just the thought of tasty food can cause the increased flow of saliva, resulting in the watering of the mouth, right? If we smell a very good smell of biryani coming, what will happen? Our mouth will be full of water. But what is this water? This is not a water, this is the saliva. Okay, there will be excess secretion of the saliva. Clear? Now see, saliva is very slightly acidic, pH is 6.8, fluid containing about 99% of water, salt, mucus and an enzyme called salivary amylase, also called ptyalin. Okay. Now what is the function of saliva? Why do we secrete saliva? It would be okay na if we do not secrete saliva, but why? See, the very first point is moisten and lubricates the inner lining of the molar cavity and the surface for the tongue to facilitate speaking and salivating. Now just imagine if our mouth was dry, would it be possible for us to intake the food or to swallow the food? No. Second one, moisten and lubricates the food, which again helps in swallowing. Number 3, acts as a solvent, dissolving some food particles to stimulate taste bud of the tongue. For example, you are eating a dry biscuit. What will happen? You are chewing a dry biscuit, you will see that our saliva converts it into a semi-soluble substance, right? This is the function of saliva. Helps food particles to stick together to form a bolus so that they can be swallowed in a mass. The fifth point, digestive starch, its enzyme ptyalin or salivary amylase converts starch into maltose. This explains why if boiled rice is chewed very well, it begins to taste sweet. Okay, because starch with the help of salivary amylase and saliva get converted to maltose or disaccharides. Cleans the mouth and tends to destroy germ to prevent the tooth decay. Dryness in mouth due to less water in saliva gives a feeling of thirst to replenish body water. Thus saliva aids in water balance of the body, right? Now we will be coming to the process of swallowing and peristalsis. What is swallowing and what is peristalsis? Okay, see, in swallowing there are several simultaneous actions. Very first point, the tongue presses upward and back against the roof plate of the mouth, and this forces the bolus or the ball of the chewed food into the throat or the pharynx. Very first point is we are taking the food, we are making the bolus, and now we are just we are doing this so that we are putting the food in bolus formation and pushing it towards our throat. Okay, now see, the back part of the roof of the mouth cavity or the soft plate closes the opening between the throat and the nasal passage. This is very important, okay, and this is the reason why it is advised that while eating you should not talk, because what happened when you are eating this plate, because if we see a diagram we will see that the nose or the windpipe and the food pipe have a common opening which is closed by a flap. Now if in case of we are eating it, we are talking while eating, these flaps gets continuously turned on and off, or is like this one. Okay, now while this thing happens, if by chance the food gets inside our windpipe, we will find a severe cough, along with it may happen vomiting, because our body will always try to throw away that particle or the particle of the particular food which is inside our windpipe. Okay, so this is the reason why we should not talk. Now see, the larynx or the voice box, which is located at the entrance of the windpipe, is pulled upward to bring it close to the back of the tongue when the flap called epiglottis close its opening. Thus only passage available to swallow the food is that of the gullet or the oesophagus. Okay, there is no any other option. Now what is oesophagus? See, oesophagus is a tube which simply conducts the food from the throat to the stomach. So it is that particular pipe, we can say, which carries the food from the throat to the stomach. Once the food reaches the esophagus, it is conducted behind by a special movement called peristalsis. Peristalsis is the wave of contraction caused by the circular muscles of the guts pushing the food along. Okay, now see what happens. I am showing you. Just like, see, this is the particular tube. Okay, I am drawing here only. It will be much more easier for you all to understand. See, suppose this is your particular esophagus, okay, or a pipe like substance. Now the bolus is here, okay. Now it tends to go downward, definitely it tends to go downward. Now here what will happen, here will be a certain, see, this will become like this and like this, okay, like this and like this, like it will enlarge, okay. Now the food, when it goes downward, what will happen, this part will become normal, this part now will become normal, and here it will be again an elongation. This, as it is going downwards, so gravity is also acting downwards, and this causes the food to go downward. Also the saliva which is inside the esophagus also helps in lubricating or to reduce the friction which can cause the food to go downward. Okay, another example you can take, if you are taking a particular pipe and putting a small stone of the same diameter inside the pipe, what will happen, you will just push it from here, you will push it from here so that the food particles go on the other side. The same thing, that same force is given by our muscle of the esophagus, okay, and this process is known as peristalsis. Is it clear? Now see, as the wave passes, the circular muscle relax. Peristalsis occurs through all region of the gut. Mucus secreted by the all region of the gut is slimy fluid which lubricates the food. Now the very vital or the important part of digestive system is the stomach. See, the stomach is an elastic bag located below the diaphragm. In an average adult, it can hold 2 to 3 liters of food. Its walls are highly muscular and churns the food thoroughly to mix with the gastric juices secreted by the inner lining. The opening of the stomach into the intestine is called the pylorus. It has a ring of muscle or the sphincter to keep the opening closed like a valve to prevent flow passing from the stomach until it is thoroughly churned up. It also prevents regurgitation from the duodenum. A similar sphincter termed cardiac sphincter is present in the front end of the stomach to prevent backflow of the food into the esophagus. Now, what is gastric juice? Gastric juice is secreted by the inner lining of the stomach. It is a colorless, highly acidic liquid containing water, some salts, hydrochloric acid, and an enzyme called the pepsin. The acid serves two functions. What are the two functions of stomach, or what are the two functions of acids in the stomach? Questions comes like this, okay. The very first point is, it kills any germ which may contain enter along with the food. Number 2, it activates pepsin to act on the proteins. Pepsin digests proteins only about 20% into peptides. In fact, pepsin is first secreted as pepsinogen, which is then changed to pepsin by the hydrochloric acid. See, here two equations are given. These two equations is very important, okay. The first one, pepsinogen, inactive protein with the help of HCl converts to pepsin or active peptides. Number 2, prorenin, inactive, that is casein, milk protein soluble with the help of prorenin, inactive with the help of HCl turns into renin, and their protein with the help of pepsin turns into peptides, okay. And here casein or milk protein soluble with the help of renin turns into paracasein, a peptide insoluble, okay. The food stayed in stomach for about 3 hours and it attains a pulp like formation called the chyme. Now the pylorus opens intermittently to allow the chyme to move to the intestine like little by little. Okay. Now from the stomach it goes to where? It goes to the small intestine. The small intestine is a tube of about 7 meters long and 2.5 meters wide. It is coiled and folded in the abdomen. It has 3 subregions are as follows: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. These are the 3 parts of small intestine. Duodenum, short upper part next to the stomach. The common bile duct opens into this part. Jejunum, next short region of about 2 meter. Jejunum means empty because it is nearly always empty after death as found in the dissection or in the postmortem. Ileum about 4 meter, referring to the twisting movement of this part. It is the twisted part of the small intestine. Clear? Now the inner lining of the ileum is made into a great number of tiny figure-like projection called the villi or singular villus. The villi enormously increase the inner surface area of the intestine, nearly 8 times that of the outer body surface. Now it increases the villi or small thread-like projection, which increases the surface area for absorbing the food. Okay. Between the villi, a small hose through which the intestine juices secreted by its glandular cells is poured into the lumen of the intestine. Each villus is covered by a single cell thick epithelium. Inside the villus are contained an artery, a vein, interconnecting blood capillaries and lymph vessels called the lacteal. Clear? Now the small intestine serves both for digestion and absorption, that I have already told. It receives 2 digestive juices. The first one is the bile and the second one is the pancreatic juice in the duodenum, and its own wall secretes the intestine juices in the ileum. Now we will be studying about bile. Okay, what is the function of bile? This is a yellowish green and watery fluid produced in the liver, which is transported to the hepatic duct. The hepatic duct is joined by the cystic duct to form the common bile juice duct. Please mark these points, these are very important. The bile may flow directly into the duodenum or as it is generally happens, gets temporarily stored in the gallbladder. The color of the bile is due to the certain pigments or the bilirubin produced by the breakdown of the dead and worn out red blood cell. Bile contains a lots of sodium bicarbonate, which neutralizes the acidic content of the food received from the stomach and makes it alkaline to enable the pancreatic and the intestine enzyme to act. Bile salt reduces the surface tension of fats and breaks them into tiny droplets for providing greater surface area for the action of enzyme. Overall, the role of the bile is as follows. Here, as you will see, this one, okay, this particular part is very important. What will happen? Acidic chyme with the help of NaHCO3 and bile, alkaline chyme. Fat with the help of bile, emulsified fat. Number 2 is pancreatic juice. This is produced in the whitish gland pancreas located behind the stomach. The pancreatic duct open into the duodenum by an aperture common to that of the bile duct. The pancreatic juice contains 3 kinds of enzymes. What are they? Amylopsin, trypsin and strepsin. Amylopsin, that is pancreatic amylase, digests leftover starch into maltose. Trypsin acts on the remaining protein and polypeptides to produce molar peptides and amino acid. Trypsin is first secreted as inactive trypsinogen, which is converted to trypsin by the enzyme enterokinesis, secreted by the inner lining of the duodenum, and strepsin acts on emulsified fat to split them into fatty acid and glycerol. Clear? Now the role of pancreatic enzyme is as follow. Here it is given figure. It is not given in figure. See this part. Okay. Intestine juice contains ellipsin, a mixture of peptidase to convert the remaining peptides into amino acid, maltase to digest maltose into glucose, lactase to digest lactose into glucose and galactose, sucrase to split glucose into glucose and fructose, and some traces of lipase to digest fat into fatty acid and glycerol. So all these changes that I was talking about is summarized in this particular part, okay, in this particular part. So please underline this or mark this, these are very important, okay. Now absorption of food. The final product of the food are mainly absorbed in the intestine itself. The amino acid and the simple sugar have relatively small sized molecules which are absorbed through the thin epithelium of the villi and reach their blood capillaries to finally enters the blood circulation, first to reach the liver through hepatic portal vein. And the second part is the fatty acid and glycerol are absorbed into the lymph vessels or lactease to enter the lymphatic system, which forms a network all over the body to ultimately empty its content into the bloodstream. The food passes very slowly through the intestine, taking about 4 hours to enter the last part of the large intestine. Now the part or the last part, that is large intestine. What happens? The large intestine is about 1.5 meter long. It has 3 parts: caecum, colon and rectum. What are the 3 parts? Caecum, colon and rectum. Okay. The caecum is a small blind pouch situated at the junction of the small and the large intestine. From its blind and end projects a narrow worm-shaped tube called the vermiform appendix, which inflamed it causes appendicitis. So have you heard of the term appendicitis? It is this part. And today it is a functionless or a vestigial organ. The colon is much broader than the ileum and is a little upper than a meter long. It passes up the abdomen on the right ascending colon, crosses to the left just below the stomach and down to on the left side of the descending colon. And the third part is the rectum, is the last part about 15 centimeter long, which opens at the anus. The anus has circular muscle to keep it closed except when passing the balls. Here summary of digestion, this table 11.1. So whatever I have taught you all is given here as a summary. So this table is very important. Okay. Now the function of large intestine. The large intestine secretes no enzyme. This is a MCQ type questions that generally comes, or true or false question. It absorbs much water, very little digested food from the content, which mainly cause of undigested material. After much water is absorbed, the content becomes semi-solid phases which pass into the rectum and is expelled at intervals. The expulsion of the undigested remains of the food from the alimentary canal is called the defecation. The phases are normally composed of nearly 75% water, 25% solid material, which again consists of 30% dead bacteria, 10 to 20% fat, 2 to 3% protein and 30% of roughage. Clear? The bad odor of phase is due to the bacterial action in it. Also, the composition of phases varies from person to person. Okay. Now, the point that we will be studying is the assimilation of food. Okay, what is assimilation? Assimilation is the conversion of the absorbed digested food in the body material. Okay, now this is the conversion of the absorbed digested food into the body material. Okay, digestion is the absorption. Now assimilation is the conversion of that absorbed food into the body material or into the part which our body requires. Clear? The food digested and absorbed by the guts are transported in 2 ways: through the hepatic portal system and through lymphatic system. Simple sugar, amino acids, vitamins and minerals etc. are carried to the liver by the hepatic portal vein. The liver converts any excess glucose into insoluble glycogen, which can be temporarily stored in our body. This process is known as glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis then? Glycogenesis is the conversion of the glucose into glycogen that is stored in our body. When needed, liver reconverts the glycogen into glucose. This process is known as glycogenolysis and put it back in the blood circulation. Glucose is required in the body tissue as a source of energy in circular respiration and also in the synthesis of certain compounds. The amino acid circulates in body and they serve as building block of protein. The amino acid cannot be stored. Any excess amino acid are broken down in the liver by the process called deamination. So amino, just like glucose can be stored, but amino acid cannot be stored in our body, which the nitrogen containing amino group is removed and converted into urea for excretion, and the remaining part forms glucose, which can be utilized. The fatty acid and glycerol absorbed by the guts are transported mainly through the intestine, villi and lymphatic system. The thoracic duct of the lymphatic system empties into the large veins carrying blood into the heart. Some fats are used in the synthesis of certain compounds in the body cell. The excess quantity is deposited cheaply below the skin as substantious fat or around certain visceral organs in smaller quantities. Now the last part, that is the liver. The liver is the largest gland in the body, weighing about 1.5 kg on an average. It is reddish brown organ located in the upper side of the abdomen just below the diaphragms. So this completes your chapter digestion. Now the rest part, that is certain experiment on digestion, you go through it. Okay, practical work on food taste, this part is not very necessary, but yet these two parts, certain experiment on digestion and practical work on food taste, these two you go through it. If you have any problem, definitely ask me. I'll solve your query, because this part, whatever I've taught you till now, if you have gone through it thoroughly, then this part you can understand very easily. Okay, so this completes your chapter digestive system. For any of the queries, you can definitely ask me in the class timing, as well as in other times. You can like WhatsApp me, call me, or for others who are watching this, you can just put a comment, or you can mail to us. We will definitely reply to your comments, and we will definitely try to understand, to make you understand this point or the particular query that you will be having in a separate way. So thank you to each and everyone. Take care of yourself, take care of your family. We will be meeting in the next class with a new chapter. Till then, take care of yourself, have fun, study hard, and stay safe. Thank you.